Okay. Hi, Daryl.
Hi, Julie.
So you are here with me today. First of all, we met through a set of circumstance through our common friend, David Bingham.
Yes, that's right.
So
Yeah.
we both contacted David Bingham on our way to self-realization or awakening or whatever name we want to give it. And we then were aware of each other through some conversation we had and recorded with him.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you contacted me recently. You wrote a book, and we're gonna speak about this book today. So I have a few notes. I read the book, and I liked it. I enjoyed it, and so we thought we may speak about the book and see what come
Okay.
out of this conversation.
Okay.
So you wrote the book, The Seeker, My Adventures on the Pathless Path. And this book is available right now on Amazon, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So first of all, what made you write this book? What was coming up for you to write the book?
I think when we go through a kind of a awakening process, there's so many thoughts and emotions in our mind and in our body, and it's a kind of way to just get it out. So when I started writing, there was no intention to write a book. I was just getting my thoughts out. And I kind of have no experience with writing, and I'm not particularly good with the English language. It is my first language. But so I just thought I'd write and see what happens. And I'd stop writing when I had nothing to say or if it felt forced. And the writing, I mean, I wouldn't call it automatic writing or anything like that, but it flowed. It was kind of a way of getting it out of me, especially if you've been a seeker for a long time, like I had. It's like a way of getting all of that out of you. And it was quite nice because when I finished writing it, felt like it's gone. There was like this
Wow.
relief. I'd kind of got it out my system. So,
Yes.
and then as I was going with the writing, it was quite clear that it was a creative kind of process. And often the creativity is not coming from yourself. So you can kind of almost feel it flowing in a way. And then, and when it stops flowing, then that was all. And during the course of this, I realized there was quite a lot of good material, and possibly other people would find it interesting. So
Yes.
initially, it was for me,
Oh,
and
nice.
as I kind of got going on, I thought, well, maybe other people will find it interesting.
Yes.
The other thing that I would like to point out is I found that a lot of spiritual books, well, the ones that I enjoyed were the personal ones where people gave their own personal, where they weren't kind of talking about systems and processes, but they were. So I tried to make it personal, and because I found that's what I related to in other authors,
Yeah.
and because spirituality can be a dry philosophy, so the idea was to try and not be like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. It reminds me of, yeah, this energy of just writing or, yeah. I do share some video on YouTube and these came in the same manner. It was just flowing. So I thought, okay, let's
Yeah.
just let it be. And then
Well,
and it felt part of some integration of some just, yeah, it's emptying itself or,
yeah,
yeah.
there's definitely, one sees it with there's a there's a need to kind of get it out somehow. So some people talk on YouTube, and people go to groups and talk, and I'm kind of not on YouTube, and I don't have any groups, so this is my way of getting it out. But the creativity was quite nice because it was quite clear to me that you that all creativity doesn't actually, not that I was creating anything, but I mean I was writing a book, so I suppose I was, but it comes from outside, and it's only the ego only afterwards takes
Credit.
credit for it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's with everything, with artists and music, and I think it's across the board.
Yes. Yes, it's not personal, it just flows and it's not the
Yeah.
person is doing it or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And funny,
Yeah.
when you start forcing it, you can see that, like, um it's missing something. There's no,
Yes.
when it's forced, then there's the essence is gone, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes. Beautiful. Um, I reviewed a little bit because I wanted to bring a few things to the conversation about the book. I don't want to reveal what's in it so that people can be interested in reading it. In my experience, I found it interesting. I was not seeking. I was seeking, like anyone else. I was seeking happiness. I would, but I was not seeking in a direct spiritual, knowledge, and
yes,
nothing regarding meditation or reading about
yeah,
non-duality, nothing. But I still found this book very interesting because I could see the commonality. Oh, there's that, there was
yeah,
so
okay,
much commonality that even the seeking or not seeking directly in spirituality became irrelevant. It was the same thing anyway. It's just expressed in
yes.
different ways. And
I
I
think we're all
found,
looking for
yeah,
something.
yeah, and I found this book could be interesting also for those seeking or those just interested in the subject that are not seeking, that may just have a curiosity about it. And I found there was a lot of wisdom throughout the book. And one place was where you mentioned there was a tipping point where you say that you had previously read book that you had gathered intellectual wisdom, but you had not embodied, you had never, or you had maybe practiced a bit and then forgot about it and came back to it. So I was interested to speak about that, the difference between knowledge, acquisition of knowledge, and really embodiment of knowledge or practice, or not even, we could even drop the word practice, living it.
Yeah,
So how
yes.
did that change in your experience over the years or through the seeking? Or...
Well, that kind of, that tipping point, or that, I think what you're referring to was, you we kind of think that we're putting it in practice, but we're actually not. That's so, you'd, like, I'd read things and I'd think I'd practice it, but I wasn't completely committed. In other words, if I found some really good advice from a book or from anything, I would maybe practice it for a week or a few weeks, maybe just a month, but there was no real commitment. And it's funny, but even I thought the understanding was sufficient. I didn't give it too much thought, but I think this is what a lot of people do. They think the understanding is 50% of the work, or the understanding is 80% and the practice is 20%. It's kind of the other way around. The practice is 90% and the understanding is 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that, especially when I reread one or two books, and I suddenly thought, geez, but I really haven't put this into practice.
Hmm.
So, and I think where that comes from is, at some point in the seeker or in anyone's journey, you get to a point where you decide, I'm now 100% committed. And that is when you start practicing, when you really take it seriously. In other words, your intention is now to really sort this problem out. Prior to that, it's something that interests you and it's something that you want to do, but it's not something that you're 100% committed to. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
and
and I think
yeah.
I almost would say that might not necessarily say I would like to be 100% committed to truth or something like that. It might just be to end certain suffering, you know. If I have anxiety, or, you know, it's, you say, now I'm now 100% committed. This is the most important thing in my life. Then you start doing something about it. But up until that point, it's just a philosophy. It's just a
Yeah.
intellectual curiosity. That was my experience.
Okay. And maybe then there are thoughts like I don't have time, or and these things are in the way.
Well, it's actually, there is that, but there's a lot of subconscious things, because you think you understand it. You first think, oh well, that's too easy. You know, I understand this stuff. So you actually think you're practicing it, but you're not.
Ah,
So that,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
So even though you say, look, I don't have time. I've got more important things to do, but I also understand the stuff anyway. I need to get on to the next. I need to get onto the next book. The one with the higher
Yes.
level teachings.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you haven't
Yes.
implemented the first stuff.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, that's
that
interesting because my path was not knowing anything spiritually. And so when I came across this, I came across a realization through hearing, where is me? There's no solid, I realized there was no solid me. There was just emotion and feeling and thoughts. And
did you
that
you realize that without
I
reading books
realized
or
it
anything like
through
that?
one book. I was looking for well-being. At some point, I
Yeah,
was done.
amazing.
It sounded
Yeah,
like I was done with suffering, and I just wanted harmony. And I found
yeah,
the audiobook, The Greatest Secret. And when she described how me, it can never be found. Like this solid
yeah,
identity that these emotions are coming and
yes,
going, and that I am always present and aware. There is awareness.
yes,
It just clicked. Like I just,
yeah,
oh, I realized it. And then I was so innocent. I knew nothing. So I practiced what she said was to practice
yeah,
welcoming,
yes,
but real welcoming, not just welcoming to get rid of something, like just.
yes,
So I started to practice very diligently
yeah,
with innocence. There was welcoming. So I sit and I welcome, and I guess the commitment was already there.
yeah. I think it's almost sometimes you've got people have too many spiritual concepts in their head, and it's a disadvantage. Whereas you started with a clean slate.
Yes, it was really
Yeah,
innocent. I said, I know nothing. I'm so innocent.
yeah,
I'm just going to sit with welcoming and welcome more and more. Can I welcome
yeah.
more?
The time was right for you. You see,
Yes.
you kind of,
Yes. And I was seeking like
yeah,
you were, but not
yeah,
in spiritual
yes,
knowledge. I
yes,
was just like really seeking happiness,
yeah,
like everyone. We have this intuition that happiness is our.
yeah. I think in Zen there's this concept called beginner's mind. In other words,
Yeah.
you've got to like be in a state that you know nothing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you can receive. It's when you know
Yeah.
things that's the difficulty.
Yeah.
As soon as you start
I
knowing
like the
things,
word curiosity, to be
yeah,
curious, to be open and
yeah,
curious.
curious, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. Yeah,
So
lovely.
that was I like this place where you spoke about that in the book.
Okay.
The knowledge, and then the commitment, and so there was more readiness.
Yes,
Yeah.
and funny enough, the actual understanding is not in the intellect. The experiencing of it is the understanding. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
that's the. I mean,
Yes.
that part of it most people kind of don't get until they. But the experience of it is the understanding. So when people, or me included, when we think that we understand something, most of the time we don't, unless it's our lived experience.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't
Yes.
know if I've jumped ahead.
No, 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 it's perfect. I was just reflecting
Yeah.
about experientially. That's exactly what happened for me. She said welcoming, so I sat with deep suffering and I welcomed it fully, and then there was
Yeah.
this peace. I was astounded. I was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah. Where
this
did this come from? Yeah.
this peace revealed itself." And then that was just the start of the fire, just
Yeah.
getting, and then seeking arose with that after. But
Yes.
that's not
Did you have
definitely.
that fluctuation in and out of the piece?
Yes,
Which
yes, I
some of,
did.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
unstable. It was unstable.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very frustrating time, the in and the fluctuation.
Yes.
Um, it's because yeah, I mean, it was like I would go from one day of peace and joy and now understanding, and
Yes.
then the next day it's gone. It's like completely vanished. It was and it
Yeah,
was painful, because now you try and
it
get
is.
that, again. So you
Yes, you
spend your
want
whole
to get
life
it back. Yeah.
trying to get it back. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
speak about that in the book too. That's one thing I found really there was wisdom in that when you wrote about that, that something will be felt and then forgotten. And it feels really in depending on the vibration frequency you are, it's going to be just a memory and not a lived experience.
Yeah. It goes
So
from understanding to a concept, and a memory.
yes. Can you
I could
speak
never
about that a
understand that
bit?
because it was so. I actually kind of, my mind's not jumping ahead, but I had that in dreams as well, kind of almost semi-lucid type dreams. But I'd like be speaking to someone and there'd be incredible wisdom out here, and then I'd wake up and it's gone,
Yeah.
and then I thought, but this is quite similar to the I got it, I lost it thing, where you've got it and then it lost. And then I kind of thought it's most likely vibration. When your body or your being vibrates at a higher vibration, you have access to it. But as soon as your vibration drops, you lose it immediately. Um, and I used to feel like I'd lost a part of myself. Um, so on one level, you could explain it like that with vibration. That's how I came to terms with it. If it is like that, I can't say.
Yeah, something will be understood differently depending on the frequency
Yes.
vibration where it's heard or
Yeah.
where your being is.
Yeah.
And our being
Yeah.
never moves, but it felt in my experience, it felt like there was this immense peace and so much relief. And then the doubt
Yeah.
came and I adopted the thought and the doubt, and that felt so awful because it was so much a
Yeah.
contrast
Yeah.
between, and that fueled the seeking of finding that peace again, and
Yes.
the
Yeah.
searching is in the way.
Yes, that's right.
So
And
meeting the energy that is searching is a way, allowing that energy that is searching is a way to resting back in that peace.
yeah. Well, that's the irony, I suppose, of the thing, is that the searching is what's keeping it away from you.
Yeah.
But you can't. There was that quote at the beginning of the book, and I think that the searching is what's it's giving you an opportunity, but at the same time, it's withholding it from you.
Yes, at the same time. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I kind of came to think of it more like, it's not so much that we vibrate at different frequencies. This is just my ideas for whatever they're worth. The words, that it's more like we're focusing on different aspect of ourselves. So we're focusing on the more higher vibrational aspect of ourselves. It's not like we are now vibrating higher and now we're vibrating lower. So that's how I come to
Yes.
terms with this. Is that so? In the up times, we're focusing on that aspect of ourselves that has a higher vibration, and in the down times, we're focusing on that aspect of ourselves, the more physical body, as opposed to
The wisdom body or the
the
peace
wisdom body. Yeah,
body. Yeah.
which I kind of like. I call it unity consciousness for some
Yeah, the
guys.
wisdom body is unity
Yeah,
consciousness.
yeah.
It's
Um,
it feels like the with this seeing that we're not the thought, we're not the emotion, opens the possibility to function from wisdom body more and more, to function from unity consciousness without identifying as I am that.
yeah.
It's a way of
I
functioning that is more and more available.
Yeah, to me, it's the heart. It's the heart center. So when you're in the heart center, automatically the I concept disappears, and and you don't identify with your emotions and your thoughts. So
Yeah.
which is unity consciousness, or the wisdom body. But The other thing which I found quite interesting is back to that oscillation, or the I got it, I lost it. So when you're kind of in the low vibration, it's impossible to understand things above your vibration. This is my, I suspect, I mean, I can't say for certain. So in other words, you know, in the world, we kind of often, it's impossible to understand someone else's perspective who is in a higher vibrational level. You know, I don't want to, because
Yeah,
one
yeah,
can now
it's
say there's some people with higher vibration and
no,
some with
it's
low,
not that.
and
It's
that
just our
duality. It's
access
not
to
that,
our
it's
infinite.
just, you don't have access to that information. So in other words, you can access information below your level, but you can't access information above your level. And we all, from my perspective, I feel like we all those levels combined. It just depends on where we put our attention.
Yeah. So it's clearly not a personal attainment of
No,
vibration. It's not that at
no,
all.
no.
It's more knowing our nature gives us access to more things that don't make sense for the mental lens will be
Yeah, there's
perceived from another lens, which then is okay too, but it's
yes,
yeah, it's not
from
negating anything either.
it's just, yeah, from another perspective, you know.
Yeah.
So from this perspective, you know, so I wrote, I don't know if this is, but you know, you can say from a certain perspective, the world is flat, or the earth is flat. I mean, but when you go up into a spaceship, you see that the world or the earth is a globe. So they're just two different perspectives, and they're both true at the same time.
Yeah.
And then even higher perspective, one could say that the world is just an energetic expression. In other words, there's nothing physical, it's just energy. So those are all three correct. That just depends on where you're looking from.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are looking more from the physical, on the lower vibrational aspect of ourselves, but it's not necessary. We can look from a higher
Wider
perspective if
perspective.
necessary. Yeah, yeah.
Or yeah.
That's how I come to terms with it.
Yeah, and one of the simplest thing I feel that is supportive for people to realize their nature is that there's a capacity to focus our attention on something, which is more of a mental activity, and to just rest and zoom out in the wider lens,
Yeah.
just being
Well,
presence.
yeah, great point, because it's focusing, but it's actually relaxing.
Yes, a relaxing, yes.
Yeah, it's not
Yes,
actually a
because
focusing.
focusing is the
Yeah,
effort.
yeah, that's right. It's
Yes, our
actually, I
being is
think
the
it's a
non-effort.
tuning. It's a tuning in. I think that's probably the better a
Tuning
tuning
in.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, or tuning out.
Yeah.
It's actually a tuning out. Yeah,
Yes, that
yeah,
would yeah. Um, I would love for you to speak about the heart opening because it's something that is that you wrote about in the book, and I feel that's really important in the pathless path or the return to our true
yes,
nature.
yeah. So I still believe this is like the most important aspect of spirituality, is the heart opening. And I mean, when I first started, and you could say the first 10 years of being a seeker, I mean, I never even knew anything about the heart opening. I mean, I might have read a bit here and there, but I mean, okay, this was quite a few years ago. But I mean, I came to seeking more from through suffering.
Uh-huh.
So I had quite bad insomnia and had some anxiety and things like that. And then I came to the conclusion that this anxiety and insomnia was caused by fear. So then I started trying to this was right at the beginning of my search. Then I started trying to overcome this fear. And then it didn't take long, but there was quite a light bulb moment for me. It flicked on, suddenly realized that actually there isn't such a thing as fear. There's actually just an absence of love. In other words, fear is just less love.
Mm.
As if like there's no darkness. Darkness is an absence of light.
Mm.
So then I kind of stopped focusing on fear. I used to have this affirmation: I will overcome my fear. And I remember I did it for quite a while, not too long, but But it quite quickly I realized that this it was all about love. It's actually, so then I started cultivating love, and as soon
Mm.
as one cultivates love, the fear disappears immediately. The fear cannot exist in love. Um, so my understanding or my experience of it is, as I say, is the fear is just less love,
Yeah.
or no love. I don't think there's ever no love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so then I think, and this was through the book of Michael Singer, where he speaks about opening and closing the heart. And there's lots of words, open-heartedness, and I mean the English language is full of words about the heart. But I didn't realize it was actually a physical thing. You can physically feel your heart opening and closing. And I realized that as a protection, because of my anxiety, I had some social anxiety, that my heart a lot of the time was closed. It's a self-defense mechanism for you. You keep your heart closed and tight so that you don't get hurt,
Mm.
or so. And then when I started playing with this a bit, I realized I could actually open the heart quite easily. It wasn't difficult to do. And then I got to the point where I could quite easily feel if my heart was open or closed. Um,
And would you say it's
and
kind of a
yeah, so
sense that
that's almost,
something drops down, like that you can drop from the mind down to the heart, to the body, to the heart center?
yeah, there's definitely that sense. You actually perceive the world from here.
Yeah.
So you don't, in that state, in unity consciousness, even though you can say, well, my body's disappeared, or doesn't feel like I have a body, or doesn't feel like I have too much of an I self. I think we all do to some extent, but you still have this perception that the world is felt from this part.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the dropping into the heart. And I suppose that is actually kind of what we were looking for, or as seekers. Um, so the difficulty is that it's very easy when everything's going well to be heart centered and to live from the heart, but when things are going badly, that's the trick. So so that's where spiritual practice came in for me. But what actually happens is you kind of then start, when things are going badly, you start identifying with you start feeling emotions, and you start identifying with your emotions. And as soon as you identify with your emotions and your mind, and it's very difficult not to, you can't then be heart centered. Now you're in your mind and in your emotions, and it's extremely overpowering, from my experience. So it's easy to, but it's good to practice with small things.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you realize that you've never actually lost it. It's actually always there. It's always available. This is kind of further on in the journey, but
Yeah.
you realize that it's always available whenever you want it.
Mm.
So, but the other part of the heart, which I think is quite important, is gratitude, because it's almost the easiest way to open your heart, especially if things are going wrong for you. So if so even when things are going really wrong, if you can come up with a whole lot of things that you're grateful for, but not grateful for up here, it's not a mental activity.
Yeah.
You feel it,
Yes.
and immediately the fear reduces and the anxiety seems to go away. So that to me is like probably a very powerful practice for some people. Definitely for me.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. It's I love how you describe it because I had never really thought about it, but it's really something we can feel in the body. It's easy to
yeah,
attune to that and feel that. And when we have a difficult situation, sometimes let's say my partner is describing his perception of me, and resting in the heart will start to feel more difficult because there's the need to defend, or the need to prove, or the need
yeah,
that those need may arise. And to bring these need in the heart, for me, was the way to, so that they lose power, so that I don't adopt these, but I can still be
yes,
firm. I can say, I can
yeah,
be authentic. And because ultimately is to live this realization in our human experience, to
yes,
That's what we're seeking when we're seeking, is to live the human experience from this open space.
Yeah,
This
from freedom, as
from
opposed to,
freedom. Yes.
yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm, but there is a sense of just getting freer and freer. You know, so, and I think that it's freedom from fear. I suppose that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people, sometimes you speak to people and say, "Well, I'm not afraid of anything," you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's the subtle fears,
Yeah.
that many people don't even
And
notice.
the idea to overcome fear is something we hear a lot. To 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 overcome, or it's like you're
Yes.
giving it
Yeah.
existence, that you have to pass through it
Yeah.
or over it,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
it's not efficient.
No.
It's a
You just
resistance or
have
a
to see it as
denying of it,
untrue.
even to just try to overcome it.
Yeah. All that's actually required is just to see it as untrue, or to see it as it's not a nice idea to say as an illusion, because it's definitely not an illusion. I mean, the fear is real,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's in
untrue.
the higher
That would be
perspective, it's
a more,
untrue. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a,
And that's the whole spiritual path. It's just that. And I read like many people seekers do. I read one of Ramana Maharshi's books. Ramana, I can't remember how you pronounce it. And he said, and this was like right at the beginning. And it's when you regard the unreal, when you stop regarding the unreal as real,
mm,
then reality alone remains, and you will
uh,
be that.
yeah.
And that's the spiritual path. And it's simple, but extremely difficult at the same time. And then he kind of went on in the book. So he first said that, and he says, for some people, that is enough. You just tell them, when you stop regarding the unreal as real, then reality alone remains, and you will be that. I mean, it's a really extremely well put together.
Yes.
But he says, for some people, that just hearing that is enough. But for other people, that is not enough, and then
Hmm.
one needs to kind of meditate and work, which 99% of people have to do, is work on your emotions and work on
Yeah.
integrate. Yeah. But 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 ultimately, that is what we are getting, what we're striving towards. We're just stopping believing the unreal.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other thing in the book that I note is when the baggage is rising to the surface, and that was a surprise because it's not what we're bargaining for.
Yeah. I mean, there seems to be different types of people. So some people seem to like have a realization and have this awakening experience, and bang, everything is kind of pretty much hunky-dory after that. It was never really my experience. I mean, I kind of, there was definitely a point for me when seeking stopped. I mean, it stopped I can kind of down to the minute. It was just the seeking was there, and then something happened and the seeking stopped. But there's kind of the honeymoon period of the bliss and the joy, and some people are fortunate, and they have a lot of that. I didn't get a lot of that.
And maybe that's
I had to
fortunate too.
continue. I had to continue working.
Maybe that's fortunate too, because when you have a lot of it, then you feel the loss of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's. I think it kind of. I think it. At some point, you have to take responsibility for everything that happens, and the sooner that you kind of start taking responsibility, the sooner one can see through, or as Ramana says, stop seeing them, stop regarding the unreal as real. So the sooner you get through that, because it thins the veil, and I mean, there's definitely a sense that these are energetic impressions that one needs to release. I mean, there's no doubt the energy seems to sit in one's energy body, and one needs to release. I actually had two experiences of that but when I kind of met a guru when I was quite a bit younger. it was the same. When I used to spend time with him, it was just chaos. I tell you, there was no fun in it at all. It's your emotions all over the show. Everything just boils up to the surface. And and I think that's the kind of problem with awakening is that as soon as you start going down this road, everything comes up, and it can be a difficult path to face that and process it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's maybe for some people it all drops and doesn't come back, but it was not my experience either.
no, and it's still not my experience. It's just I don't identify with those problems anymore as being mine.
Yeah.
They are mine, but I don't identify them as me. There's
As
like
being a
other
problem.
aspects of me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but I mean, I suppose, the other thing I think which came up quite strongly is when your kind of baggage comes to the surface, your emotional baggage, which everyone seems to have to some extent. One of the first things we do is then kind of we get hard on ourselves. We show no compassion to ourselves. You say, "Oh, I must be a terrible person," or "I must," we start judging ourselves.
or I must
Um,
not have realized myself.
yeah, or doubt. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the doubt.
I don't. Funny enough, the doubt. I mean, the doubt still comes, but it's very quick. But I'm not talking so much kind of after realization. It's more before,
Mm,
where you start being very hard on yourself. As
yes.
a seeker. Um, we're all taught to show compassion to others, but we seldom show it to ourselves. And we are like our hardest critic. And when the
Yes.
emotional baggage is coming to the surface, we start thinking, "Oh, I must be a terrible person."
Yes, yes, yes. I remember saying, "Oh, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to say I'm sorry again." I did it again. Yeah, because I was a very harsh with myself and with situation and other, and then I
yeah,
found a way. Like I was always, oh shit, now I have to say I'm sorry again because this irrational emotional
to other people
reaction
or to
came up
yourself.
again.
Yeah,
No, to
yeah,
others. But I was
yeah,
gentle. I started to be more gentle with myself, and that was before
yeah,
realization.
yeah,
There was already something coming through. Yeah,
yeah,
I was in the space of, oh my God. Instead of falling down into the shame, shaming myself, I started seeing, oh, I did it again. Oh my
yes,
God.
yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna own it
that's
and
right.
just go and say I'm sorry because I
Yeah,
reacted in a really
yeah. So
harsh
from a position
way.
of strength, whereas shame is a position of lack. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so I still get cross and angry and shout and everything, but it's very quick.
Yeah.
Like if I get upset with my wife or whatever, it's literally like 2 minutes later, I'm like totally fine.
Yeah, it
But I
doesn't
do
stick, eh? It doesn't
doesn't
have this
stick at all. No,
stickiness of this is
no,
me and it's never gonna
yeah.
end and
There's
all
no
that.
story afterwards. There would suddenly be a explosion of some sort, and I'll get
Yeah.
upset, and then it's gone. Yeah,
Yeah. And then I like this word with it, this normal human stuff. Like it's just,
yeah. I suppose
yeah.
so. It is.
And
Yeah.
integrity, you keep integrity. Uh if it doesn't mean that there is no integrity in the way we live, even if there is no belief in any personal ownership, there's still ownership of, if I have to say I'm sorry, I'm gonna say I'm sorry in my
Yes. Yeah.
relative experience. So it's also, you bring a little bit of that at the end of the book, the integration of a paradox or a seeming paradox, which at some point is not a paradox anymore, or kind of.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely after when seeking ends, the paradoxes clear up quite quickly. The seeker can never understand the different sides of can't understand the different perspectives from my idea.
And at some
But
point, all these perspectives are fine. There's no conflict
yeah,
between each other, so it can all
yes,
be true at the same
that,
time or
that's
untrue at the
right.
same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that's okay. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not a, you could say intellectually, if I started analyzing it and saying this, then but I don't go down that route. It's just both sides are fine. And there is some understanding
Yes.
why it's fine. I just don't know why.
Yeah.
That's the, I don't know if you find that as well, but like,
Yes.
there's an understanding, but you can't put it into words. And as soon as you put it into words, then it's lost straight away. So this, but yeah, the I've lost my train of thought. Anyway,
I
can
was reflecting when you were speaking. For me, the understanding, which was the most supporting and logical for the brain, was to understand the five kosha. I was like, oh, okay, attributeless being, and then filter, bliss, effortless being, the wisdom body, or unity consciousness. Unity consciousness is not our identity, so you're not identifying with any of it.
Yeah,
Because it
that's right.
sometimes the flickering may be identifying with the wisdom body, and then identifying with the mind, and then identifying with the
Yes,
wisdom body,
that's right.
and then
Yeah,
you have like a flickering of an identity, but it's none of it
yes,
and all of it at the same time.
yeah.
So
And
yes, the understanding can be a part. It depends, I suppose, for people, because depending how the mind is, and I know that the mind here is really thorough. So there was a need to
yeah,
understand, even though
yeah.
it's
So even the five koshas and that, I mean, they, it's kind of just a tool to help you understand. I mean, I try
yes.
not to take it on as a concept too much. It's just
No, it's just to feel into it.
it's just a tool.
Yeah.
That just is one way of looking at something.
Yeah.
And
To let go of trying to understand. It's kind of
yeah,
just
yeah, that's right.
some way of okay. And then you go in experientially directly.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that
And
is what it's all
even
about.
that, like when I speak about the lens, it's a way to rest the mind. Okay, that's it. Okay. But it's not even like that structure. There is a gradation, so you can feel how sometimes they can even feel in yourself what is the percentage of this me here right now. Yeah, maybe there's a
Yeah,
little bit, maybe there's a lot, so it's to attune.
yes. Yeah, I mean, I would say that is it, because the mental activity, because this is also something else which I feel quite strongly about, is the stilling of the mind. And it's, to me, that's a fallacy. It shouldn't. One should never even worry about stilling the mind. You can observe the mind, but stilling the mind is really just and the reason that we think is because there's agitation, and there's agitation because there's a little bit of fear. So so in other words, we're looking for answers to questions. We're looking to understand because we don't feel complete within. As soon as we feel complete within, there's no need to understand. Um, and the mind is permanently looking to understand, or
Yeah.
so it's the agitation that. So in other words, if you kind of come to terms with the fear aspect of it, or understand that this is just a small aspect of myself, and if I can focus on another aspect of myself, then the mind slows down and stops if
The mind
necessary.
is kind of is it feels like the mind start to align and calm down. But if
Yes,
even if it's active, there was it's less active in me now than it was before. But even when it was, I'm just aware. There is awareness of an active mind, and it's
yeah,
fine. So it's not to try to stop it, because only mind tries to stop mind, and that becomes a battle
yeah. I mean,
within
I
itself.
my, I actually came to the conclusion for myself that the mental chatter is irrelevant.
Yeah,
Whether it's there or not makes no difference. It's
doesn't make a difference. Yeah,
makes
yeah,
absolutely no difference.
yeah.
So there are some times when there's more mental chatter, but one can, if you're able to shift into, you can always go to that part of you that's peaceful.
Yeah.
So you say, well, I'm really tired of this mind carrying on. So you just shift your identity back to awareness a bit, and then the mind carries on almost in the background, and then eventually loses steam.
Yes. And
But
I
this
felt
focusing on.
yes. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that I noticed it when I visited someone some time back. But like the mind is always trying to compare and saying, well, if I did this, it's permanently agitated.
Yeah. It's
you know,
goes left to right, bouncing
yeah, but
us
it's
left to right.
it's the consequence of something. It's not the cause of it doesn't cause
Yes.
our separation. It's the consequence of our separation,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If that maybe is what I was trying to say.
Yes. And what in my experience, what came up was because the freedom of just being was seen. Okay, there's freedom of being. Nothing needs to be resolved. There's nothing need to be found. When I had like an intuition to do something, if there was self consciousness, like the need to be approved, the need to be loved, that was in the way, there was intense suffering. So I couldn't like I couldn't avoid it. And
Yeah.
I couldn't hide from it. I couldn't say, oh, I'm gonna continue to hide here. So that felt not pleasant
Yeah. No.
at all. But at the same time, is the is the natural process of letting go of these ideas.
Yeah.
And
Look,
then
there's still I still have many unpleasant sensations, like all the time. It's just, the problem is when we kind of only looking for nice, good sensations, and we don't want the bad ones, and we want the good
yes.
ones. So
Yeah.
I actually had it. So I had this reoccurring problem that kept on coming up within me. And I suppose this is the inquiry part of it. But when you start actually getting interested in it, then you start seeing it just as an experience, and it's actually the sensation. Just to experience the sensation is actually quite interesting.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
difficult, but it's a very powerful sensation.
Yes,
Uh,
to bring curiosity, how does it feel in the body
yeah,
to feel that? And then you said something just before we joined. Can I have more of it? And I found this really powerful.
I think it's incredible that can I have more of it, of a bad of bad emotion or bad. It's
Yeah.
like you go
Yeah.
into it and you say, in other words, I'm really going to look for it and I want more of it. Okay, and a very powerful one. It's quite difficult to do that because you start identifying with your. But when you're looking for it, you're not it. You're the one looking for it. You're the one
Yeah.
trying to get it. So
Yes.
you've already separated yourself from it.
Yes.
But for me, I found that very powerful, trying to get more of it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're really fearful, like with a knot in your stomach. So then you go, I find I go into my stomach and say, let me feel this knot. And like, can I feel more of this fear? And then it's gone. And now like
Yes,
I'm trying to
it
say,
is.
where's it
Yeah.
gone? I'm looking
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight away it's gone, instantly.
Yes, the
Yeah,
resistance, as soon as there is no
yeah,
resistance,
yeah.
it's it cannot be found.
But it's yeah, I mean, it's not for me. I don't like to try and make it sound that everything's all hunky dory. I mean, for me, it's not all hunky dory. I mean, there's still good days and bad days, but
Yeah.
I don't disidentify. I don't identify. That side of it doesn't change.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the blessing of having the grace of knowing our true nature, which supports our human experience, which is still just a very normal experience. We deal with things, life is the same. And
Yeah, or having a place to go to where everything is peaceful.
yeah.
So I mean, I know David says it, and it's so good. It's like when you don't want to be on the roller coaster anymore. You can be on the roller coaster, but at any time You know, we all have this ability. We can just go to our peaceful place, you know, within
Yes.
ourselves. So the roller
Yes.
coaster carries on, but now you've tuned into a higher aspect, which is what we're talking about, which would be the unity consciousness. Or, yeah.
Yes, and
But
if you go on the roller coaster, there's no judging that I did it again, and it's
no,
just okay. There
well,
was the roller coaster, and it's okay. There is no I
yeah,
shouldn't be on it, and why am I still on
that's
it?
right. The story. Yeah. I
That
just reckon
changes.
I just try and say, well, the recognition is enough.
Yeah.
So, well, now I'm on the roller coaster.
Yes.
Like, I don't have to do anything. I'm on the
Yes.
roller coaster. Because that's kind of, but fortunately, I do find I am able to go to that other aspect of myself pretty much
Yes.
when I would want to, you know, if necessary, you know.
So as a tool for people that are realizing or starting to question and inquire into what's real and what's not real, one thing that would be gradually revealing our true nature would be to attune to that space inside, to that resting, zooming out and resting here
Yeah, to
without
find
the
to
just knowing that is enough to start to cultivate an interest.
that's right. Well, to acknowledge it, to actually, because we've all been to that place, we all go to that place, but a lot of people just don't know what it is. I
Yeah.
just need to quickly turn the light on.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I remember kind of yeah, just that, as you know, just that awareness space, you know, just to know that that space is available, to cultivate that experience.
Yeah.
I think, and I think the easiest way to get to that is for not for everyone, but for well, for me, I think it possibly is, but it's through the heart.
Yes.
That's well, for a lot of people, I think that's the easiest access point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you know, and being grateful. So even if your life is completely in turmoil and everything's going wrong, and you know, if you can still find things to be grateful about, it drops your awareness.
Yes. And
I
I
think it's,
find that's doable, when we sometimes we walk to go to work, or and then you can just start to just be here and see like flowers and the trees and just this access to
yeah,
just being here and cultivating that. At some point it feels like it just is always there.
yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean that was something else that maybe I'm different to other people or other books, and that is the concept of mindfulness, of always noticing, and mindfulness is one thing, but of trying to be in the present moment. I found that, I mean, obviously not really possible to want to be in the present moment. I mean, you're either in it or you're not. You can't want to be in it. Um, but but as a seeker, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of pain that people go through permanently trying to be in the present moment.
Mm.
Um, the present moment, it was the same. The present moment is the consequence of being in the unity consciousness. It's the when you are in that state, you are in the present moment, and the ego self disappears or gets smaller or whatever you'd like to say. But
Yes. Yes.
it's again, for me, it's the wrong way around. It's kind of saying, well, let's try and be in the present moment so that I can experience unity consciousness. You've
No,
kind of got
yeah,
to
yeah,
be in
yeah.
unity consciousness to experience the present moment.
Is available
Whereas
already, and then yes.
we
Yes.
seem to be doing it the wrong way around.
Yes, yes.
And
And also realizing that, well, that is more, maybe more deeper realization that there is no other moment, that there is always just this moment and there is no getting out of it.
yeah, I mean, that's always the difficult one to discuss. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely a sense of that, you know, for me. There's a sense of of the timelessness of the moment.
Yeah,
But at
but
the same
like you
time,
say, dropping in the heart will bring us there instantly, will bring us here.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
taking time to cultivate that. Because in the
Well,
end,
to know if your
self-realization
heart's
is not like we're not like sitting on a cloud nine, and that's also dropping these ideas that something will be
yeah,
found, that something will
that's
be
right.
really
Yeah.
extraordinary found, and it's more access to our other ways of our other mode of experience. It's,
Yeah, different aspects of ourselves that
yeah,
were always there.
yeah.
We've just realized that they actually are available.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, they are
Yeah,
always there, and they are always there for anyone and everyone. There's
that's
no
right. And they're
special
always
person.
available at
Yeah,
any time.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean that, but yeah, but yes, it's just that idea that you can um sort of be in the present moment and then lose the present moment and then be in the present moment, and in other words, you can try and get all these little present moments and try and join them, and eventually it becomes one big long present moment. It's not that wasn't my
Not helpful.
experience.
It's not
Yeah,
helpful either to,
yeah.
well, we all, I don't know if we all, no, I can't say that because that was not my experience to try and be in the present moment.
Well, I don't think you meditated, but that's what that's what meditation, or what people think meditation is about, is being in the present moment. But it's so then they kind of when you meditate, you are able to kind of hold some focusness in the present moment by focusing intently on, most of the time is because you're focusing on an object that you are in the, so you're almost not in the present moment, you're just focusing on, your focus is narrow on a certain object. But then so one would experience that in meditation, and then the thinking behind it is that, well, if we could just experience that throughout our day for 24 hours a day, in other words, so and then you meditate more to try and get that longer, so that period of peace that one gets, you try and extend it through meditation. And to me, I don't know, I don't think that works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it would work, all these people who are meditating in monasteries for 20 years would all be completely enlightened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For
Yes.
50 years, so it's not that meditation is bad. It's just meditation is just a certain tool.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's actually got anything to do with being in the present moment.
Mm.
But people think it does.
Yeah.
You might get into the present moment by surrendering through the meditation, but it's not through the meditation itself.
Yeah. And that would be the same in our day-to-day life, by surrendering to what's here. If there is an emotion, without avoiding or trying to change it, or just feeling it and letting it be, that is
Yeah,
already unity consciousness, because there is no
don't
separation.
fight with what's happening, but it's
Yeah.
easier said than done. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
don't fight with what's appearing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's yeah, I mean, I do fight with it, but immediately I know, oh, I'm resisting, so
Yeah. The absence of resistance is really,
yeah, that's right.
it's really helpful, because then it's like what we resist
Yeah,
persists. So if we can open
yeah,
ourselves, open the heart, stay with what's
yeah,
here, it doesn't
yeah. It's
stick.
actually quite
Yeah.
interesting because it's probably not a surrender, it's an absence of resistance.
Yes, more.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
yes.
surrenders, but like a doing, now I'm going to be
Yes, yes,
surrendering
still an
with an
absence of
absence of
resistance,
resistance. Yeah,
effortless.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
effortless. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So I think I went through the point that I wanted to discuss. Oh, lastly, maybe we get into that a little bit. You write, we will eventually have to reconcile the polarity as spiritual aspirant, and I find that's quite that's important, because inside the polarity cannot be reconciled. But as a
Yes.
neutral being, when it's like we access to neutrality, which is not in the polarity, and from that place, the polarity can be reconciled.
Yeah. So from my understanding is the polarity that we experience in the outside world is just a reflection of the polarity that is within ourselves. So so the sort of the hate and the fear and the hate, and they are aspects of ourselves. They're kind of almost unacknowledged aspects of ourselves. So one has to start, you know, yeah, I found that one has to reconcile that within yourself. This was something that was more recent. This was after it took a while to, in other words, not to I mean, it's this whole concept of good and evil, and not to resist the evil, not to. I mean, from my perspective, the good and the evil are just different aspects of ourselves. And when we acknowledge that and we come from the neutrality of understanding, then we've now gained our power,
Yes.
our spiritual power, and we can only affect positive change from that neutrality, not from
Yeah.
being on the good side or on the
No.
evil side. The
Yes.
evil is there almost because of the good, so the two can't, in
Yes.
duality, the
Yes.
two require each other. So often on the spiritual path, people are trying to cultivate love and goodness wherever we go, which is a noble thing. But sometimes we oppose the dark side.
Yes, if I'm
And
a good person, then sometimes I'm a bad person.
that's right. And
And
the dark side, the reason that the dark side is there and part of your experience is because it's an unrecognized aspect of yourself. So that part of it is more to do with the inside and the outside being not separate but the same. So the outside world reflects back your own
yes.
understanding. It's basically, from what I can see, it's giving you an opportunity to integrate yourself
Yes.
the whole time. It's a
Yes.
kind of self-correcting mechanism. So if my understanding is somehow out in some way, the outside world will permanently show me where I'm out and
Yes.
give me the opportunity to rectify it within myself. And once I've rectified it within myself, I'm now in a neutral perspective, and there's a lot of spiritual power in that neutral perspective. And then the outside world will change in according to what I have now become.
Yes. And when you
It's a little
say
bit tricky to
rectify and
explain.
reconcile, what I gather from this word reconcile is also the recognition and the we can even come back to the welcoming of just seeing this energy that if I if I feel in myself that I need to resolve myself, then I will project that to someone in front of me that they need to resolve themselves. And that will create conflict, which is only perpetuated by my own misunderstanding. And if that energy is reconciled, that it's okay, that I don't have to resolve myself, that I can just be here, then it will be reflected outside from I will not have the need to resolve or for anyone to resolve themselves. And then there
That's
will be
right.
more unity consciousness, which will reflect in my experience higher vibration frequency.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So the image outside is not going to be changed by trying to change the image outside. So it's always just a reflection.
You could say the way you see the image outside, or it's more the fact that it was affecting you in the first place means it's unreconciled. If, in other
Yes.
words, the outside world can change instantly, but generally what is in your personal awareness, because there are complications with collectives and with different people and that, but yeah, the fact that it's affecting you is mean that there's something not So it gets quite difficult because there's a lot of things that if you take the environment for something, if people are destroying the environment, one might say, oh, you must take a stand. We need to kind of become an environmental campaigner, and there's nothing wrong with promoting a clean environment, but as soon as you become an environmental campaigner with a very strong position, all we're doing is reinforcing the opposite position that destroys the environment. So when we operate from that middle point of neutrality, then there's almost no need for the environmental campaign, and there's no need for the environmental destroyer. And the more people who live like that, eventually it's not part of our experience at all.
Yes, and it rests the polarity.
Yes, it rests. The polarity then is in balance. But it also comes to being responsible for your outside. So, I try to be responsible for everything that is outside me, that comes into my awareness. In other words, I would say, to what extent have I created this thing that I'm seeing as outside of myself? What have I not seeing? What am I not understanding that this has presented itself to me?
Yeah.
So it's easy to say that, but I'd really try in most situations.
Yeah.
And I don't always reconcile, but I try to.
Yeah. Yeah. In this exploration, it's like maybe there's a place in me, there was a place where the life was happening to me, so I was a victim of it. And then there was a realization, oh, life is happening for me to see. And then there's deeper realization that life is not, there's nothing happening. There's just, life is neutral. And nothing is happening to me or for me. And then there is this place of complete neutrality, but still participating in life without any conflict about, I am a person and I'm going here and there.
And that's right. It's not that one doesn't participate. It's not like we're just a passive observer. It's not like that at all. But those three perspectives that you had, they're kind of, all three of them are true.
Yes.
Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah. Yes, because if there is a negation of there's nothing to see, then that's limiting. So there is nothing, and at the same time there is something. There is still growing, still integrity,
and on one level it's happening to me, and I'm
I have to deal with this problem. It's arising here, and this is my problem actually right now.
Yes.
And then from another perspective, this is here so that I can realize more and integrate more, or reintegrate, or bring everything home in wholeness. And from another perspective, absolutely nothing is happening. But none is denying the other. So that's the more open lens of living. And it's not avoiding life.
No, not at all. It's probably the opposite. It's embracing of everything that happens in life. It's pushing nothing down. It's experiencing, embracing everything.
That's beautiful. Well, I feel that is a good place to end our conversation here.
Right.
And I will post it on my little YouTube channel. And if people want to reach out to you, are you okay with that, or?
Yeah, that's fine. You can put my email address there if you'd like to.
Okay.
It's up to you.
And your book is available right now.
Yes,
on Amazon by Daryl Sampson. So I'll put the link to the book as well. And I really enjoyed the reading. And one of the things I enjoyed the most was the personal approach. It's that it's a felt experience, and it's a personal. It's not a sharing about method, a technicality, or anything. It's just your own authentic path to
Okay.
the non-path.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm really glad we could have this talk, and I'm really glad I read the book. It brought more in my experience through your sharing. I could connect to your talking about the opening of the heart was really
Okay.
I loved reading about it.
Well, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I wish you well. Stay here a minute. I'll just end the recording
Yeah.
and we can say goodbye. Give me a second.